Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, look, we're live on the YouTube.
Uh-huh. The
Haha,
tube.
the tube. All right, you ready?
Absolutely.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of What's on Second, a true YouTube version of a baseball, not podcast, but YouTube show. It is Richie and Michael. We're back on the diamond yet again. Michael, how you doing, buddy?
I'm really happy that I'm getting a playoff, break here. That was, I want to say intense, but also kind of very disappointing and somewhat embarrassing start for some teams or fan bases.
Yeah. Uh,
Eek.
Eek indeed. Well, this one obviously this show is a little different. Obviously, we're not bringing this one to the pod. This will not be a pod show, but as I mentioned, there it will be a YouTube show, so it is a YouTube only exclusive. Like we mentioned in the last show, it's going to be YouTube only for the each round of the playoffs. Probably going to be only like 15-20 minutes versions of the shows, 30 minutes probably. Who knows? We'll see what happens depending on how much Michael and I ramble.
I was going to
And
say, if
then
our track record's anything.
yeah, if our track record's anything, it means that everything I just said is a lie. So we're gonna see how it goes, but we're gonna review this basically. So, Michael, what do we have? Do we even have a lineup card today? I know we didn't really mention it, but do we have a lineup card today?
Review. We're just simply going to go over the last couple days of games. There were only 2 days worth of content to really talk about. Some of it, Richie and I's both American League setup here kind of got blown apart.
Yeah,
And
punched
then
in the
our
mouth.
that's putting it lightly, in PG, which hopefully we can keep it that, or at least for me,
Yeah.
hopefully I can keep it that, because I'm going to get to a game here that bugs the heck out of me.
Ooh, I'm excited.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We only had two games each for all of these teams. It was decided very quickly. I'm not entirely surprised for the most part, but the outcomes and the fact that they were sweeps, I think, is the biggest thing. So we're just going to go talk about game one of the AL wildcard and NL wildcard games from Tuesday the 3rd, talk about it from the 4th, and then, just kind of say like what we expect out of the division series that'll be starting tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. Good news is we have really good DS series is coming up here. A lot of storylines on all these DS series is coming forward. We'll definitely touch base on those, but I guess we could just go through this and go through each one of these wonderful wild card series here really quick. I guess we'll start in the AL since we blew them to smithereens because we were so good at this. The Texas Rangers went into Tampa Bay as they were the first games of the week and just dismantled them. The Rays, who were a 99 win team, coming into the wild card looking like a team to be reckoned with, should have been the easy, smooth sailing. The Rangers coming off of losing the division. And yeah, me and Michael both did not pick the Rangers, and we look silly for it. I mean, I don't know who in their right mind that Rays team was, but first off, the first game, 4 errors is unheard of by them.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the coolest jerseys. I'll give them that because they pull out the throwbacks. That was nice to see. But other than that, that might have been the only thing they did right. The lineup went absolutely stone cold.
Yep.
The Rangers all just teed off. I feel like every pitch they had, they just took to town. I mean, I'm embarrassed for Rays fans, honestly. And they couldn't even feel. Here's the other thing that ticks me off. They didn't fill that ballpark worth a dang.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed for the Rays fans. I feel bad for the Rays themselves because of how the fact that, excuse me, they didn't set what they were, I think the game one attendance was roughly 19,000 and
Yep.
change, which for a playoff game at
Is
any
awful.
sort of is awful. And even then they're like, yeah, we were about 5,000 under attendance capacity or whatnot. And I was like,
Oh, I
that
didn't hear
doesn't
that.
seem right
Jeez.
that you only have 24,000 seats in that stadium.
No.
That's ridiculous. Well, then someone pointed out, yeah, look at all that lower deck seating. There are probably about 5,000 seats that weren't filled. They did not account for all the upper deck.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm going to tweak us in the moment a little bit. We might as well just talk about each series in general instead of just breaking it down by day.
Yeah, I mean
So,
it's easier.
yeah, and hopefully get it done a little sooner. Game one, Texas had 4 runs on 9 hits with 1 error. Tampa mustered 6 hits, but couldn't score a darn and committed 4 errors. Montgomery didn't give up a single earned run, obviously. So he's 1-0 with a 0.00 ERA, looked fantastic. Kind of like the guy that we saw initially when he went from New York to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And then Glasnow got blown up. I mean, his ERA isn't the worst we've ever seen. Some of them, as we go down the line here, actually have much worse ones. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
his ERA is 5.40. And then on Wednesday, Evaldi gave up a run, so his ERA is a horrendous 1.35. Never seen anything worse. But your boy kind of gave up a handful of runs with the Rangers not even really looking back. Beating
Oh.
Tampa 7-1 on 12 hits with 1 error. Tampa Bay had 1 run on 8 hits with 1 error. Eflin, I feel bad. He's someone I feel bad for because he looks so good. But, when you get into that game 2 where we got to win and you're already looking at a big deficit, what can you expect?
Yeah, it's horrible. I agree with you. I can't believe how bad the Rays have it right now. I mean, congratulations to getting a new stadium, but if it ain't gonna get filled, it's no different than the Miami ballpark, honestly. Like, no. What's
I'm
the
glad you
point?
brought that up because on one hand, you look at that and you go, you couldn't get 19,000 people, or you couldn't even get 20,000 for a playoff game. Sure. I've seen a couple different perspectives. AJ Pierzynski talked about how no one wants to go across the bridges, which it's like, okay, it's just a bridge, but it could be a
No, it
thing
is awful though.
because I've never actually been to the Trop yet. I really wanted to go this year. It's probably going to be next year that I go. I'm assuming
Yeah.
since you've been in the area, you've been there before.
I haven't been there, but I know where it is, and like I've had to travel past it,
Okay.
which makes no sense, which stinks. But I mean, but like it is. It's literally the worst way of it's almost on an island on its own. It's really horrible.
So Pierzynski was talking about it. They had an infographic come up that showed where St. Pete is as opposed to Tampa Bay proper. And I mean,
yeah, they're not close.
They're not entirely close. They're essentially just across the bridge. But you go and you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, both of which draw good crowds. Now, sure, the Lightning, that's not even a actual NBA arena. That's, I'm pretty sure, purely hockey.
It is
So
purely hockey. They don't have an
yeah.
NBA team here.
Yeah, and it's not it's not huge, but it gets the job done. But they draw good
most hockey arenas are getting around 30,000. So
yeah, so they get good attendance. Obviously, the Bucks get good attendance.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like if they went up to actually Tampa Bay and built their stadium there, that could help out a little bit because Tampa Bay's shown that they can draw fans. St. Petersburg, you've got to. I feel like it's a little more out of the way than it should be if you want to honestly draw in more and more people. Now, what they need to do is try to go up to Orlando. Obviously, it's probably a heck of a lot harder than, easier said than done. But yeah, think about it. You've got MCO that's right there. You're not far away from a port, on the East Coast at Port Canaveral. You're not entirely that far away from Tampa Bay, so fans can travel up that way. But then you have all the amusement parks in that area. there's a lot there that can help draw crowds. So you not only have local local attendance and fans, but you make it so much more attainable for surrounding fans
Yeah,
to come to games. And I feel like they would
absolutely.
have a lot better time drawing fans than if they did it that way.
I agree. I've always thought that. I've always thought that the Tampa Stadium is in St. Petersburg is also it's a dump. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God they're rebuilding it, like or crushing it. I don't know how they're saying whatever they want to call it, but like
Yeah.
it it does not, but it needs to get out of that location. And I think the goal is to use that same location again, if I'm not mistaken, which makes no sense to me because where are they going to play when they're building this thing? Because
Hmm.
they're not going to get it constructed that fast. I don't care what you
No.
say. It's not going to happen in the off season. It doesn't ever work that way. Um, so I'm curious to see what they do here with that. But it's abysmal that I could get a ticket for $27 for a playoff game. There's no way I should be able to do that. The lowest ticket in Philadelphia, just to give you a comparison, was $300, and that's for the nosebleeds. Like
Yep.
I could go get a ticket on the third baseline at Tampa for $27 for a playoff game. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Now, I don't think it helped that they were playing Texas because Texas doesn't follow very well.
Hmm.
Their fans don't travel very well, and it's not a knock on Texas fans. They choose to stay home.
It's
That's cool.
fine.
I get it. And they weren't playing a rival like the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the any of those guys. So
Yeah.
they didn't need to. Nobody's going to show up to that ballpark. I mean, the
Hmm.
Rays fans that are there tried their best, but
The Rays can't even sell out their ballpark, let
no,
alone,
the Rays can't sell
traveling
out their
fan bases.
ballpark. Yeah, you need all the help they can get, and they had not a great opponent for it.
Hmm.
Also, the fact that they had 4 errors in a game is a joke. Looked absolutely lost, and you could almost see that team just did not want to be there. After Montgomery shut them down on that first game, they basically did not show up for that second game either.
Mm.
And right when Adolis hit that yaya shot, and I mean yaya, because it went so far. He
Hmm.
destroyed it, basically did a backflip, turned, pointed to the team in his dugout, and then basically said, "We're done here." And that was just to make it 2-0. Like it wasn't even like an outlandish number yet. It was a
Hmm.
solo shot, if I remember correctly, too. So,
Yeah.
but they knew they already knew they drove the stake into the ground when they did that. So it was over with that. So Rays fans and Rays had a great year. I think that also some of the turmoil finally might have caught up to the clubhouse. I don't
Hmm.
know that for sure. But you talk about a staff that wasn't healthy. I mean, think about it. They're on like their 5th, 6th starter. I mean, not necessarily Eflin, but whoever started that series, who was on Tuesday, which was
Glass now.
Glasnow, is not their ace. Their ace is Shea McClanahan, who was down who went down halfway through the year. Then you had Jeffrey Springs early on in the year. He goes down. I mean, Glasnow is easily a 2 or a 3. He's a great pitcher, but they didn't have an ace going. I mean,
I
same can be said for Texas too, because obviously they're not using Scherzer or DeGrom.
DeGrom.
Obviously, he's not healthy, but
Yeah.
there was a difference in appearance. Texas took it on the chin, and I think this is where management comes into play really big time. Cash couldn't get those guys ready. Bochy turned around and said, "We're in the playoffs now. Let's not bleep around," and they turned
You
it
can't
on.
mess around when the opposing manager's Bruce Bochy. Yeah,
No,
there's no way.
no. I mean, I have no more thoughts on this other than I'm embarrassed for the Rays. Like it
Yeah.
was the most embarrassing performance I've seen in a long time.
Now we'll go on to another embarrassing series. This is where I'm going to get aggravated with, and that is the Twins and the Blue Jays.
Oh God, it
I
was
did.
so bad. If you want
Did
a
I
book on how to ruin your team's chances of winning anything, this is it.
did I want to watch the Twins wins? No, but I'm not going to be upset. I don't dislike them like I dislike other teams. It's just because it burns a little bit because it could have been us. But on
Sure.
Tuesday, uh, Pablo Lopez looked like the ace that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic outing. Got into some trouble a few times, but the Twins pitching staff just they raked themselves.
Yeah.
They beat Toronto 3-1 on 5 hits and an error. the Blue Jays only getting that 1 run on 6 hits with no errors. Gosman got lit up, uncharacteristic of him, and then Duran shut it down. I mean, that kind of game's going to happen. That wasn't the issue. It's game 2 on Wednesday that just
so
is an
bad.
absolute joke. So
bad. This might be the definition of worst managing I've ever seen in my life. And the
I
funnier
agree.
part is that A-Rod called it in the moment. And I hate, also, holy God, could we pick worse broadcasters for that series than Michael Kay and A-Rod? I already can't stand Michael Kay as a Yankees broadcaster, but at least he's the Yankees broadcaster, and there's a little bit of reason for that hate there. But I don't need to see him ever on a national broadcast again. He was he was with the Phillies Cardinals. Those two had the Phillies Cardinals wild card last year, and I wanted to rip all of my ears off. Like,
I'd rather listen to Joe Buck.
I would so much rather listen to Joe Buck. Oh my God. At least Joe Buck knows what's going on and doesn't make it sound like crap.
So the biggest controversy with this game is and you look at the score 2-0 and you think, well, that's not that big a deal. You know, they only kept the Twins to 2 runs. Barrios must have done a good job. Their $130 million man pitched 3 innings, and got pulled. So a lot of fans would go, well, he must have gotten hurt. Wrong. He gave up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, and 1 walk with 5 Ks to a 3 ERA, which that's just because of the amount of batters he faced.
Yeah, which is
giving up the runs.
Skewed as all heck.
Oh yeah. He shut him down. Ever since Barrios has gone to the Toronto, he's pitched really well against the Twins.
Yeah.
And when you look at them, I mean, obviously they went out and spent money on Gosman. They went out and spent money on Chris Bassett. And, they traded for Jose Barrios, and then they gave him that extension.
Mm-hmm.
And with how he has historically pitched against the Twins, at least this year, and how he was looking in that game, to go and pull him after 3 innings. So obviously this does not look good for John Schneider. He's going to lose a lot of trust. No. He's going to lose a lot of trust potentially in that clubhouse, but also, and maybe most importantly, with the fan base. I mean, a manager's job first and foremost is to have a handle on the clubhouse, on the players. But it also, you don't need to take the fans 100% into account, but it kind of helps. Or else if they don't trust you, then they're not going to show up.
Correct.
But Whit Merrifield's come out and said pretty much, I don't remember what it was word for word, but hinted that it wasn't entirely John Schneider's call to pull him.
That's what I was going to mention. Is actually even A-Rod mentioned this in the actual broadcast. He goes, this looks like a decision that was not made by John Schneider alone. It was a decision that was made by the front office to not get caught later on. And basically Merrifield now confirms it, but in a way, obviously without saying it, but A-Rod pegged it right away. He said, this looks like a decision that was done at 4 a.m. in the morning when you woke up thinking about scenarios of how this game goes, not in the moment. And even A-Rod said, this looks like this could be the decision that horribly backfires and ruins the game for Toronto. And like a fortune teller that he is, because, I mean, love him or hate him, A-Rod is a wonderful baseball mind and a good analyst. He just is terrible on color commentary. Mm-hmm. But as an analyst himself, great guy. He's dead to rights. He had it perfect. He nailed it. And immediately when they brought in Kikuchi, I said, what are you doing here? The guy has 5 Ks in 3 innings. He is on absolute cruise control.
5 Ks in 3 innings. I think part of the reason if there was any sort of in the moment thing was, well, he's got 3 out of the next 4 batters coming up that are left-handed because Kikuchi is a left-hander. Kikuchi pitched 1.2 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and that was it. And so you look at that and you're like, that's still not the biggest issue. So at the end of the day, the offense didn't do anything.
The offense stunk.
Yes. only giving which this looks bad. I mean, this solidifies that Vlad might have been, only a few years of a like superstar in the making, and now he's who knows what he's going to be. He's lost the trust again with fans, analysts. No one believes that he's going to be a stud. There's so
Yeah, he
many
kind
other.
of fell back to earth hard
Yeah,
this year. He had a really down year as far as OPS,
yeah.
down average year of home runs,
Hmm.
home average year of RBIs, a lot of average, which is not what you're looking for out of the guy that's supposed to be the mantelpiece.
Let
Whereas
alone,
Bo is the one that's
uh-huh.
been taking the steps forward.
Well, Bo's been taking the steps forward, but he also hasn't
He
played
blew
very
it.
well.
Yeah.
One of another huge issue with that game too was Vlad being out in no man's land, and he's not even the lead runner. You have a runner on second and a runner on third and a runner on second. Vlad's on
The pick
second.
off.
What are you doing getting that far off to where someone can sneak in behind you and you get picked off that easily? Like
And
for
not
a
even
split,
close either. Like
no,
Vlad tried to hide it, and it was like, dude, you
shut
could go ahead and
up.
challenge this all day long. It's
Yeah,
dead to rights. You are
no.
done.
I mean, Ross Atkins, he used to be in Cleveland's organization. Yeah, honestly, he might need to go. This whole movement, I hate. We saw that Moneyball could be beneficial. We saw that it can have its
Mhm.
merits, but analytics have no place, in my opinion, in dictating everything in terms of where you're going with your moves and your decision making in the moment as a manager, or in this case, apparently with Toronto, where Toronto is calling the shots, not the manager.
Yeah, big
It,
mistake.
it shouldn't be there. I mean, you can say, well, I mean, uh, Bo Bichot hits lefties a lot better than righties, and we have this good bullpen guy coming in that's only giving up 3 hits to right-handed batters. I'm going to go ahead and obviously you don't take Bo Bichette out of the game, but just that that matchup thing. Okay, I get how analytics can honestly probably point you in the right direction, but with this whole Moneyball thing, yeah, it worked in the early 2000s when Oakland won 20 games in a row. And then look what happened. They got to the playoffs and it caught up to them like that. Granted, there was that incredible play that they made at home
Right.
to get, I think, Jeremy Giambi out.
Giambi, yeah.
Yeah, I get. Analytics can't determine that. But when it comes to the playoffs, you cannot rely on analytics like Toronto
No.
clearly did. You need to manage off of your gut, and the front office all 30 teams, let alone Toronto, needs to sit the hell down and keep their mouth
Right.
shut and let the guy that they hired to be the manager do his job.
Yeah. And I mean, look, we even had this same conversation in the past. Look at analytics versus sometimes the analytics are wrong and everything
Mhm.
like that. Look at the World Series last year. Rob pulls Wheeler was set at 70 pitches and goes and gets Alvarado for Alvarez. What happens next? We all know
500 feet.
500 feet to dead center.
Mhm.
The World Series has been decided. Now, Rob owned that. And that's how
Mhm.
you get your trust back of your team immediately. He
Yes.
said, hey, you know what? I liked my odds going with Alvarado there over Wheeler. In the hindsight, though, Wheeler was only at 70 pitches. I probably took the ball too early from him, and he was on cruise control a little bit. I made a mistake. Whereas this year, I don't know if you saw, and we'll touch back on this in a minute, but they asked him again, was it kind of deja vu that you pulled Wheeler and gave it to Alvarado in a situation like this? Because it was about that time where Wheeler got a little bit into a hairy situation, not much, but he was at 100
Mhm.
pitches. And he goes, it wasn't really. He said, I get why you say that because it makes sense. It's all like, it just is a perfect storm of situation. But no,
Mhm.
there Wheeler is at 100. Wheeler was actually ready to hand the ball off at that point because he said, all
Yeah.
right, I don't know how much I have left. And everything played in the situation. So you can play the analytics game too. I mean, I'm not saying you discount everything. There's definitely parts that it's important on. But managers that depend on it so much, Schneider, as we saw here, Gabe Kapler early on, and even this year, where it's too much of that stuff catches up and it cannot be sustainable. You have to take the pulse of the team and make the right calls as well.
I
It's
mean,
why good managers are hard to find. I mean, I hate to tell you, they don't have that big an impact in the game, so we like to say, but they do when it comes to playoff time. They're the biggest things.
when it comes to making those decisions, absolutely. I mean, I feel like Schneider's going to take the brunt of this because that's what's going to happen. He
Mhm.
made the call on video and on technically paper, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that he ends up getting let go. I mean, this is an issue that like Dave Roberts has run into outside of that one World Series that they won in 2020.
Yeah.
Whatever your opinion is on it, since it was a 60 game season, who cares? Their name's on the paper. They
Yep.
won it.
They did.
I mean, excuse me. How often have we been surprised year in and year out when that Dodgers team has not won more than that one championship in Robert's tenure, but he has made so many drastic mistakes.
Yep.
I don't know if he's a big analytics guy, but
He
I know there's
is.
a there's a ton of teams that run their decision making purely on numbers, and it's like I think some of these stats are interesting. I think a lot of them are important, but it's getting ridiculous because there's so many
You got to
times where
find the fine line. You got to
yeah,
find the pulse of your team and see who's going to go out there and do it.
yep,
Do I have confidence in guy A to get guy B out, or guy, vice versa? Can you get a hit off of guy A?
yep,
It comes down to, do you have belief in your guys? Look
hmm
at, I'll give you a classic example. Look at Philadelphia. This whole left-handed series was all lefties, right? Who was out in left
hmm
field? Kristen Pache both times. Whereas normally that's a Brandon Marsh role.
yep,
Did it pay off? Yes. Did everybody does Topper have the team's trust to make that happen? Yes. And immediately, as soon
uh-huh.
as it happens, where a righty comes in, who goes in? Immediately Marsh goes in and the team plays the right way. You got to
That
have the
makes
right
sense.
pulse. Yep.
So we'll use that as then the way
Segue.
to is segue into the National League wild card series. We'll start with Philly and in Miami.
Because we know what we were talking about there.
I Miami fell apart in that game too. I think it kind of caught
Yeah.
up to him.
Oh yeah.
Luzardo looked. I mean, game one, you only give up 4 runs. I mean, that's not the worst amount. It's not a fantastic hill to climb. Not the end of the world.
It's
But
hard when you take Wheeler though, and Wheeler's dotting. When
yes,
Wheeler's in that next gear of 98 and dotting everything,
mm-hmm.
it's the worst case scenario for you
Yep,
on the other side. The fact that they got the 1 run probably felt like a climbing Mount Everest to them. I
yeah.
mean,
I think if anything in that second game, the 1 run was even more so climbing Mount Everest. The first game was a final 4-1. Philly's getting their 4 runs on 11 hits, no errors. Miami, they got 7 hits, but they only mustered the 1 run from it. Still no errors. I mean, Wheeler looked fantastic. They just got the right hits. And then you flash forward to Wednesday and Philly won 7-1. They every hit, I don't know how many walks there were, but they got 7 runs on 7 hits, which is
yeah,
really that's when they're on point.
yep.
Miami getting 5 hits, but only on having 1 run to show for it and then an error. Nola looked fantastic as he usually does in October, and you know
Thank
Garrett
God.
just didn't have a start.
Thank God. Thank God I
Thank
needed
God
playoff Knowles.
you guys need playoff Knowles, obviously, to win your championship. Hopefully that you end up getting, but Nola needs to play well in October because that's going to be what secures him a
I was
bigger
going to
payday.
say, you can rewrite your whole year in October. And I will say that this is one of those things that we saw last year a little bit, in the sense that you can have a bad year and rewrite your whole thing. I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
Nick Castellanos last year. It wasn't
Yep.
a lot with the bat, but I'll tell you what, those catches he made endeared him
Mm-hmm.
to the city, get you those
Yep.
buy-ins. Trey Turner, hello, welcome. I mean,
That's standing
the worst
ovation
thing
for
you
Trey
guys
Turner.
could, the worst thing y'all could have done is let Trey Turner get hot, and now he's part of this lineup. And he goes, I think he went like 4 for 8 in the whole series or something like that. He was
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And running all over the place. Scary. That's scary. He hasn't hit a home run yet, but give him time. The other thing, guy who's had a horrible year at all of a sudden getting hot? JT Realmuto. I mean, not defensively, he's always been good, but with the bat was a non-existent. All of a sudden, game 2, well, solo home run, add a double that starts the scoring off, all these things.
Oh, and then bat spike 2.0 around the world.
Yeah, we have the Stot Slam, as it's been known.
That's awesome.
The Stot Slam, yes. Which, dude, if you want to hear what a playoff atmosphere is supposed to sound like, Tampa Bay, literally listen. There is, I don't know if you've seen it, but I hope you do. And if not, I'll find it for you and I'll send it to you. But the full audio of the Stot Slam with no commentators over it.
Ooh, I can feel the chills coming right now.
But basically, it goes from when Stott walks into the batter's box with the entire crowd singing his walk-up song. If you don't know his walk-up song, it's that one where he goes, "Ayo, ayo, okay, everything is ayo, ayo, okay."
Yeah.
So he gets the whole crowd sings his walk-up song. The first pitch is that inside fastball that he clubs, and it just goes into bedlam again. no pun intended. But think about this. Most of the runs and things like that were done was by JT had a big part. The daycare had a huge part. And by the daycare, I mean Bohm, Stott, Marsh didn't really, but Marsh when he was in there, Pache, Rojas, the kids, right?
Yeah.
You know who didn't really have a big impact?
Harper,
Schwarber, guys that, God forbid you can let them get hot. They didn't have to get hot to win this series.
Yeah.
How scary is that you haven't even seen the best of those two yet?
Exactly.
Rhys Hoskins is hitting BPs and hitting home runs out all over the place and trying to get back for the World Series. I don't know if I want to do that yet. We're going to have to figure this out. But the fact that you're talking about this team that like this is scary. And also the bullpen completely shutting it down. I mean, the kid came out, Orion Kerkering came out and got a whole inning of work. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, please go back and watch it. It's just nuts to watch him pitch. You get the intentional balk and save done by Craig Kimbrell. He hates players on second base. If you don't know, Craig Kimbrell does not use PitchCom. He will sometimes, but very rarely. He likes to do signals. So JT likes to give the signals, so he does not like anybody on second base, which is why you'll see him do the intentional balk. He'll give people third base, especially when he does not have to keep them there. So
yeah.
That being what it is, don't let the Phils get hot. You scarily let the Phils get hot. And now they're on their way to Atlanta. And this is what we talked about. This is not what you wanted if you're in the NL. Don't let them get hot.
I will echo what a ton of people have said. I think if any team can beat Atlanta, it is Philadelphia. If Atlanta goes to the CS, it doesn't matter if it's Arizona or LA. Atlanta's going through. I feel it's going to be an East team again, in my opinion. Yeah. And I really don't see anyone in the American League taking down
going to stop either one of them.
The Braves. I really don't see anyone. I think if anyone could take down Atlanta or Philadelphia, it would be Baltimore. But
it would be Baltimore, yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's playoffs. I think our next series is a good way to kind of segue into the final one, which it's the playoffs.
It's the playoffs. Yeah, talk about the playoffs. The D-backs came out, baby.
I love it. That was one of my. I mean, I liked watching.
That was the best series all week.
I agree. I mean, I like the Phillies. Through you, I like them anyways. It's hard not to get behind that crowd and that team because they play so hard and play so well.
Right.
But the D-backs showed up, took care of business easily. In game 1, they won 6-3. The Brewers actually out-hit them with 12 hits, but only 3 runs to show for it. And then Arizona had 9 hits with 6 runs to show for it. Both teams played airless baseball. Corbin Burns, he's got to get out of Milwaukee. Nothing against the Brewers team, nothing against the Brewers fans. Outside of them kind of doing Burns a little dirty, I think he just needs a change of scenery because he's really good. But
he did not deserve to lose that game. He pitched way too well. I mean, granted, the other Corbin is that guy. So,
Yeah.
and by other Corbin, I mean Corbin Carroll, for those that aren't following my reference. But I mean, dude, just you want to talk about you need your stud to step up and get you guys going in the right direction.
Yep.
Corbin Carroll comes up in that situation, one man on, and just yahs one, and then followed right away by Ketel Marte doing the same thing right out on the very next pitch. It just takes the momentum, spins it on its head. You're done. You almost blinked and it was over.
And it was exactly game 2 was a 5-2 victory for the D-backs. Again, Milwaukee out hit them, getting 9 hits with 2 runs to show for it. Arizona almost pulled, who was it? I think it was the Phillies.
Yeah.
Same day.
Yeah, Phillies. Yeah.
Getting as many runs on as many hits. The D-backs got 6 hits with 5 runs to show. Both times, there were multiple times in both games that Milwaukee was threatening, and Arizona shut them down. And they just got timely hitting. I mean, Longo had that.
I was going to say shout out to Longo for that absolutely incredible play over at third base to save that first game.
Yeah,
for them. Willie Adames, what are you doing there? That's another one of those ones where you're not the lead runner. Why are you that far off the base in that situation to getting doubled off?
I feel like Arizona would have won even if Milwaukee did take that first game with how well Gallen pitched. Although both, I think it's pronounced Fat, the game 1 opener, and then Gallen, surprisingly, in that first inning, the first at least couple innings, both of them had to work. They didn't shut it down on minimal pitches. So, but they settled in eventually. They made it happen, and Arizona came away with the wins. I think Kelly would have given them a game 3 win
advantage.
Yeah, today, or yesterday if they had pitched. But that was another fantastic round. I mean, all in all, there were highs and lows for me from the wild card series, but I mean, that's sports in general. That's how the playoffs work. So, I mean, that's my final thought on the wild card series. Do you have anything else to add, or do you want to kind of do a very quick preview of the DSs?
No, I think we can go on to the DSs. I think the only thing that we could say from the wild card is Rays, Blue Jays. You did the AL East horribly unproud. You guys absolutely crap the bed on the best division in the AL by far, and you didn't show up. Great job for the Twins. I know the Twins are not this. I want to just say this. I'm really happy that they got to break their streak. I thought that was cool. Also, shout out to the Twins fans. Minnesota showed out. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Well, the Rays fans we can call out for everything. The Twins fans showed out at that ballpark, and it was loud. It wasn't bank loud, but it was. I mean, there's not very many places that are going to get bank loud. That's like Truist and the Bank. That's about it, which is going to be nuts this next series. But that was a distinct advantage for Minnesota, in my opinion. So shout out to Rocco for getting the job done in Minnesota.
So just to go over a little bit for game 1's tomorrow. Is going to be Texas visiting Baltimore. They have not officially announced their starter yet. The Rangers haven't, but Baltimore is going to go with Bradish as their starter. That game is at 1:03 on Fox Sports 1. The next game is on Fox Sports 1 as well at 4:45. That is the Twins taking on the Astros in Houston. Bailey Ober is going to be starting for the Twins. Good pitcher. We saw some really good outings from him in the regular season, but he's going up against Grandpa Verlander. So
Grandpa Verlander, baby.
Whenever he gets into that postseason, man, he just cranks it up.
Get ready for 97 on the outside corner and that wicked breaking ball, because he's not holding it back anymore. Nope. He might hold it back in the regular season, but it's coming full ball or in postseason.
You got it. Absolutely. Then going over to the National League side at 6:07 on TBS, the Phillies are taking on the Braves. That it would be Mr. Ranger Suarez going for Philadelphia and Spencer Strider going for Atlanta. I think that's going to be a better matchup than what I kind of feel like your nerves say, with Not that you've not trusted Suarez, but you'd probably feel better if you had a couple of the other guys going, I would assume.
I I don't mind having Stranger go here. This is pretty much on par with exactly with what happened last year.
Mhm.
The only difference is Strider didn't pitch last year in game one. If I'm selfish, I wanted Strider in Philly because I really wanted him to have to deal with the bank because he's the pitcher that had the bat spike 1.0 done on him and kind of where all momentum took over. And he was pitching like, now he was hurt last year. We'll give him also a pass. He was definitely hurt. So that's the one thing also from the Philly series. Luis Ariz looked like a shell because he couldn't run, couldn't do anything. He looked like honestly a handicap out there. I think almost they made the mistake of having him actually playing full bore. He should have been a DH and a DH only. I know you had to get Soler in there somehow, but tell Soler to go kick it out in the outfield for a minute. Like get him off his feet. He could not have done anything. It was sad to watch. He was not scary whatsoever. Anyway, back to this though. Yeah, Strider in Atlanta is definitely better for him, for sure. But it's definitely going to be a closer game than people realize. I still would say Philly's going to have to steal that one. If they steal that one, oh boy, look out, because game two is they already have announced for Philly is going to be Wheels, and then it's going to be Nola in game three. So they already know this going into it because of the schedule. This is obviously not all back-to-back games either. There are games broken up here. So we do have days off again because of these 5-game series. So it'll be intriguing with that. But the last series is D-backs and Dodgers. Arizona has not announced their starter yet.
We're pretty sure it's going to be
Merrill Kelly. The Dodgers have announced theirs, and that is, we say Grandpa Verlander, but Grandpa Kershaw is going to be out there this time, slinging his, 40-mile-an-hour curveball because it's about that slow now. He can make it happen there.
I think that's going to be in my opinion, all eyes are going to be on Philadelphia and Atlanta. I think Houston's got it in the bag. I think Baltimore's got it in the bag. Obviously, anything can happen, but I really feel like that first NLDS game is going to be where the National League champion comes out of. It's going to be fun seeing the D-backs take on the Dodgers just because of the kind of like the same thing with Philadelphia and the Braves. It's interdivisional rival. And it's going to be, all right, LA, let's see what happens. Because, a year ago, you took on a division rival in the DS and you got your butt handed to you. So I think that's going to happen this time? No. But I think Arizona is going to give them a little more run for their money than what they are potentially thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a run for their money, and I do not count out the D-backs because I just don't trust the Dodgers. I'm going to be really honest. I do not have any faith in the Dodgers being as good as they should be, unfortunately.
Well, with the 100-win team, yeah.
I mean, last year they should have never gotten beaten up by San Diego. Now, San Diego is a much better team, in my opinion, at last year's point than the D-backs are this year. But that doesn't mean nothing, in my opinion. So
Arizona better run with that, and be like, no one's going to give us a shot. Watch watch if they end up winning game one, maybe even game two. Kind of like that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Wait until Arizona. I know we don't really talk about it a lot, but wait until Arizona gets a home field advantage too. Their home field is not something to be taken lightly in the playoff time. I know we haven't seen it in a long time, but I guarantee you that place will be ruckus.
Absolutely. But on that note, guys, we're going to wrap up this special edition of What's on Second, a true baseball YouTube video. I finally remembered, to do it that way this episode. Unlike the last one where I completely word vomited all over myself. But
I had people tell me about that, and they really appreciated that. You were very real about it. So,
really?
It's on that. Yeah.
I've actually been given a pointer or two that we got another few people that watch it and thought it was fun. So, this was great. I think this is something that Richie and I are going to look at trying to do a little more next season, having some where we'll have obviously the YouTube video on demand of whatever the show is that gets edited and put out for the podcast. But then we're going to have some stuff that it's, hey, if you want to see this content, check out the YouTube. We'll see how it goes in terms of like a podcast only content. But this was a lot of fun. Look for us to be back with our next episode on Sunday the 15th. That is when the ALCS game 1 takes place, and we'll see.
Well, hopefully we'll be on there before then. Hopefully we can do the preview before then. Yeah,
that would be the preview. So probably like that Saturday the 14th.
Yes,
that way we can get it out before the actual CSs start. But
yes,
we hope to see you out there on the diamond.